Imagine being one of the most famous people on the planet, truly a global phenomena. Then tragically, their life ends. What happens next? What becomes of that monumental legacy, that huge business empire, when the person guiding it is suddenly gone? For Michael Jackson, well, the story of his estate after his death is a saga just as captivating, maybe even more so, than many parts of his incredible life. So today we're taking a deep dive into the Michael Jackson estate. You've shared some really fantastic sources with us, timelines, financial reports, even a really helpful infographic laying out the key players and the big numbers. Our mission really is for you to help us unpack this fascinating journey. How did this estate, which started out facing, significant debt, transform into one of the most lucrative intellectual property engines, well, ever in entertainment history? We'll look at the key people involved, the massive deals, and the frankly astonishing figures. It's quite the lesson in strategic IP management.
It really is. And what's so fascinating right from the start is that when Michael Jackson died in 2009, his estate wasn't exactly financially stable. Not at all. It immediately faced huge creditor claims, complex legal probate actions. This wasn't just a simple handover of wealth. It was a profound financial challenge right from day one. It needed immediate, really decisive action to avoid a potential crisis.
Okay, let's unpack that starting point then. Michael Jackson passes away June 25th, 2009. A massive global shockwave, obviously. But behind the headlines, there's this very practical question. What assets did he actually leave behind? And maybe more importantly, who was tasked with managing this immediate crisis, especially given the financial instability you just mentioned?
Well, his will was actually very clear on the management side. John Branca and John McClain were named as the co-executors. And these were people with a really deep understanding of the music business and, crucially, Jackson's own extensive business affairs. They weren't coming in cold. As for the assets, well, our sources show he held significant ownership in Sony ATV Music Publishing. That's the company holding the rights to license compositions. And famously, that included a very valuable stake in the Beatles catalog. Huge asset. He also owned Neverland Ranch, of course, the rights to his own image and likeness, and naturally the publishing rights to his own massive catalog of music. These were all incredibly valuable, sure, but that immediate period right after his death, it was all about stabilization, just navigating that first wave of debt and claims.
Right. So these executors, Branca and McClain, they step into what sounds like an incredibly high-pressure situation. What were their first big actions, those crucial initial moves to tackle the debts and start, turning things around? This period, say 2009 to 2012, it must have been absolutely foundational.
Oh, absolutely. Foundational is the right word. Their initial years, 2009 to 2012, were critical. They had to fight aggressively against creditor claims, vetting everything. They systematically worked through and resolved various outstanding debts. And maybe most importantly, they began to actively monetize Jackson's existing catalog, his film footage, the extensive archives he had. A really prime example of that early strategic monetization was the This Is It film.
Yes, I remember that coming out so soon after.
Exactly. It wasn't just a tribute, though it served that purpose too. It expertly used rehearsal footage from his planned comeback tour. And releasing it just months after his death generated significant, really badly needed revenue right when the estate needed it most. It showed they immediately understood how to leverage existing high-value content to stabilize the ship.
Okay, so they stabilized things initially. But beyond that, our sources really highlight some truly game-changing financial deals that completely shifted the estate's path. Can you walk us through those, the monumental transactions that turned it from indebted to, a financial powerhouse?
Absolutely. The first massive inflection point came in 2016. The estate made a landmark decision. They sold its 50% stake in that Sony ATV music publishing venture back to Sony.
The whole 50% stake?
The whole thing. For a staggering $750 million.
Oh.
Yeah. This deal, it was announced in March 2016, and it caused this enormous, almost unprecedented jump in the estate's reported earnings for that year. Forbes, which, is our key public tracker for these kinds of figures, they estimated the estate pulled in $825 million just in that year alone.
$825 million in 1 year.
Yep. Marking it as the largest single-year earnings for any celebrity, living or dead, on record at the time. So this wasn't just selling an asset, it was a masterclass in timing and monetizing a huge piece of intellectual property at its peak value. It fundamentally reshaped the estate's financial future, providing massive capital.
That is just an incredible sum for a single year. Astonishing. And wasn't there another very significant sale also involving publishing rights that kind of cemented this recovery?
Yes, that's right. Just a couple of years later, in July 2018, Sony came back to the table. This time, they acquired the estate's minority interest related to EMI Music Publishing.
Yeah.
And that generated another huge cash infusion, $287.5 million. So if you put those two publishing sales together, the Sony ATE stake and the EMI interest, that alone represents over $1 billion in gross receipts for the estate.
Over $1 billion just from those two deals.
Exactly. These weren't just sales. They were highly strategic financial maneuvers. They cleared debt, yes, but they also restructured the estate's holdings and provided enormous capital for, future management and growth.
So it wasn't just about selling off these big assets and clearing the initial debts, right? I mean, the estate seems to have been this continuous engine of commercial activity for well over a decade now. It goes far beyond those initial massive sales. What else have the executors, Branca and McClain, been doing to keep this legacy not just solvent, but actively generating revenue and staying relevant?
That's a key point. If you look at the bigger picture, Branca and McClain have been incredibly proactive, really active commercial initiatives all through the 2010s and right into the 2020s. This includes producing and approving really successful projects like those Cirque du Soleil shows.
Right, the Immortal Tour was huge.
Exactly. Immortal World Tour, especially. It introduced Jackson's music and artistry to millions in a completely new theatrical format. Huge reach. They've also overseen more content related to this Is It, a constant stream of licensing and merchandising deals, keeping his image and brand alive all over the world. They've even moved into things like video game deals, digital content agreements, and critically, they've made sure his actual music catalog continues to be released, promoted effectively, and reaches new generations, constantly maintaining that cultural footprint.
And one thing our sources highlighted, showing how they innovate beyond just music and merch, is the success they found on Broadway. That seems like a massive, complex undertaking for any estate.
Oh, definitely. MJ the Musical, it launched on Broadway in 2021, and it's seen really strong box office success. It diversifies the revenue streams again, brings his story to a live theatrical audience in a, compelling way. And this is crucial, it's not only about making money, it's also very much about protecting the brand, the integrity of his legacy. The executors have had to diligently defend the estate in various legal battles, like the challenging fallout from that Leaving Neverland documentary.
Right, that must have required a very careful strategy.
Absolutely, and they've actively pursued brand restoration strategies alongside that defense. It shows a really holistic approach to managing a legacy. Yes, commercial exploitation, but also vigorous protection and curation.
That brings us to a really important point. With all this incredible commercial and legal effort going on, who's actually in control? Who benefits from all this activity? Who are the key players running this multi-billion-dollar enterprise day to day? And who are the ultimate beneficiaries of all this success?
Yeah, that's an important question for you to understand. So John Branca and John McClain, they are the long-running co-executors. They're the ones running the show day to day. They negotiate the deals. They handle the legal matters. They make the key business decisions on behalf of the estate. However, the estate itself, the actual ownership, primarily belongs to Michael Jackson's 3 children, Prince, Paris, and Blanket, who now goes by B.G. Jackson. This is all through the family trust that was established in his will.
Okay, so the executors manage, the children own through the trust.
Precisely. So while Branca and McClain hold the authority to make those business and legal decisions, the economic rights, the royalties, the earnings from recordings, the branding revenue that ultimately belongs to the estate, specifically for the benefit of his heirs. It ensures his assets continue to generate income for his family, long after his passing.
Okay, so with all these deals we've discussed, the big strategic sales, the ongoing revenue streams, what does the grand total actually look like? How much has this estate realistically generated since 2009? How big was that transformation from the initial debt to the powerhouse we're describing now?
Well, the numbers are genuinely remarkable. They really paint a picture of an extraordinary turnaround. Our sources, mainly leveraging Forbes' running totals over the years, suggest that the cumulative gross receipts from 2009 through 2024 are somewhere around $3.3 billion.
$3.3 billion gross.
Gross receipts, yes. That figure seems to be the most plausible estimate, anchored to Forbes' consistent reporting as, a primary public tracker of these things. Now, if you wanted a more conservative estimate, maybe trimming those huge one-off peaks from the big sales, you're still looking at around $1.8 billion. Still massive.
So huge.
Right. And then, if you factor in the very large reported 2024 receipts, news outlets were reporting figures around $600 million for music rights deals just recently, Well, then the high end of the estimate pushes towards maybe 3.9 to 4 billion dollars, possibly even a bit more.
Wow. So somewhere between roughly $2 and $4 billion.
That's the range we're looking at, based on public reports. It's not just a recovery, it's truly a financial renaissance. It demonstrates the immense, enduring market value of Michael Jackson's work and image.
That's just such a vast range, especially starting from that initial challenging position. It really sounds like from being significantly in the red, this estate has become an absolute giant in the entertainment industry.
It absolutely has, no question. But it's probably important to add a couple of quick caveats for you, the listener, just for a complete picture. While Forbes is an excellent public aggregator, their figures are, external compilations.
Hmm.
They aren't audited financial statements directly from the estate itself.
Okay, good point. There are estimates based on reported deals.
Exactly. And also those reported deal values we mentioned, they might not always translate one-to-one into recognized cash receipts all in a single year. Things can take time. For instance, legal disputes, like some of those reportedly surrounding the 2024 deals, they can potentially delay or even reduce the actual cash that comes in. And of course, we have to remember that running an operation like this isn't free. Legal costs for defense, managing family disputes, general administrative expenses, all that consumes a portion of those gross receipts. The net figure distributed to the beneficiaries would naturally be lower than the gross.
That makes sense. Important context. Now, before we wrap up, our sources also touched upon some of the speculation that has always surrounded Michael Jackson's death itself, particularly concerning the immense value of his assets, his empire. What does our material say about that? And how do we approach those kinds of sensitive claims responsibly?
Yeah, it's true that speculation has definitely lingered since his death. Some theories have suggested that his vast publishing empire, especially holding valuable catalogs like the Beatles, might have made him a target in some way. Now, Dr. Conrad Murray was convicted of involuntary manslaughter for administering that fatal dose of propofol. That's the legal finding. But conspiracy theories have persisted, suggesting Jackson's death was perhaps more than just a tragic medical mistake.
Right, suggesting financial motives?
Exactly. These theories often point to his debts at the time, combined with the billions his estate clearly could generate posthumously, as we've discussed. The argument in those theories is that this created powerful incentives for others who might potentially benefit more from him being dead than alive. However, and this is critical, our sources are very clear that no direct evidence has ever surfaced to prove any kind of foul play beyond the established medical negligence. These theories remain rooted in suspicion, in speculation, rather than established fact.
So we're just acknowledging their existence as part of the story.
Precisely. We're reporting on the existence of these claims because they are mentioned in the source material and are part of the broader narrative around his complex legacy, but we're certainly not endorsing or validating them.
Okay, so let's try and sum this up. What does this incredible story mean for you, the listener? The Michael Jackson estate's journey is, well, it's an astonishing transformation. From a massively indebted situation right after his death to becoming a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. It really stands as a masterclass in managing intellectual property, in strategic asset sales, and in continuous careful brand monetization. All meticulously orchestrated by his appointed executors, Branca and McClain, ultimately for the benefit of his children. It's truly a testament to the enduring power of a unique pop culture phenomenon, managed with unparalleled business savvy.
It really is. The transformation highlights so clearly the enduring value of a powerful artistic legacy, but also the absolutely critical role that expert management plays in navigating the complexities, both financial and, frankly, reputational. And maybe for you, the listener, raises a kind of provocative thought to leave you with. In this age where an artist's brand, their catalog, can generate such immense wealth long after they're gone, what unique responsibilities do the people managing that legacy, the executors, have? Not just their fiduciary duty to the beneficiaries, but maybe also to the cultural impact, the careful curation of that legacy itself. It's just a testament, really, to the power of a legacy that continues to make history, continues to shape the entertainment industry, even posthumously. A fascinating case study.